Welcome to the Guided Expressions podcast with Martin Williams, the place to learn and be inspired to live your best life. Here is your host, Martin Williams.
And thank you for tuning in to the Guided Expressions podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast. Today, what I wanted to talk to you about is mental programming and the importance of programming your own mind. We live in a world where we're being programmed each and every day, whether it's by television, the internet, social media, all kinds of advertisements, other people, family, friends, strangers. Programming is all around us. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is that if they are living a certain way, it's because they've been programmed to live that way. If you're dealing with things such as sickness, a lack of money, lack of resources, perhaps you're working a job that you don't like, perhaps you're living in a situation that you don't like, whatever the case may be, programming played a role in you ending up in that situation and in many cases staying in that situation. If you're an adult and if you live in the United States of America or another free country such as this one, you have the ability and you have the opportunity to choose the life that you want for yourself. So if people have the opportunity to choose and the freedom to choose a life for themselves, why do they continue to choose a life that is not something that they truly desire? If most people were given $1 million, like if $1 million were direct deposited into their account, how many of them would stay at their current job? And I would dare to venture that over 80% of those people would leave that job that day. That's a bit troublesome to me because, you have people who are doing things that they don't want to do and they're spending 8 hours a day doing it. It'd be one thing if you're only spending an hour a day, but you're spending 8 hours a day doing something that you don't like to do. Or how about people who are married or in relationships, and if you gave them the opportunity to leave and there'd be no consequences and, there'll be no financial consequences or emotional consequences. You could walk out today and essentially be given a clean slate. And you would have full assurance that your family would be fine, your children would be fine. You'd have full assurance that there'd be no alimony or child support coming from your spouse or having to go to your spouse, rather. How many people would just up and walk out? And the bottom line is it'd be a lot. It'd be a lot of people who would just leave and not look back, because there's people who do it now and there are consequences. But my point is that, we have so many people who are living unhappy lives. So why are they living unhappy lives when they have the freedom to choose something different? And I think a lot of it comes back to how we're programmed. We're programmed to believe that unhappiness is something that we all have to go through in life. And the bottom line is we don't have to go through it. We just end up going through it. But we don't have to go through it. Okay? You don't have to be unhappy. You don't have to be broke. You don't have to be sick. Now, a lot of people go through those experiences in life, but it's not something you have to do. And I think we have to really be careful about telling people what they have to go through. I think we have to be careful in telling people, especially young people, that this is something that everybody has to go through. Everyone doesn't have to go through it. It's a choice. And it's a choice that's so it's so insidious in that we don't even think about it. It's subconscious, right? Because, again, it comes back to that programming. that programming of, doing what you have to do in order to do what you want to do, right? That programming of having to go through, having a job that you hate, having to go through a relationship that you don't like, or something along those lines. You don't have to go through that. You don't have to be unhappy. You don't have to be miserable. So it's important that we understand that television can program us with, think about it, how many TV shows do you see with happy marriages in it? Be honest. I know growing up, I didn't see a whole lot. Most of the marriages that I saw on TV, there was always conflict. There was always a sense of, I can't stand you. I can't wait until you die. I can't wait until, I can move on with someone else. It was always that sense of dread and unhappiness surrounding marriage. And it gets programmed into you to the point where you say, I don't know if I want to get married. Right? And then think about your family members. Like I know several people who grew up in families where there wasn't one happy married couple. Like they didn't know a married couple that was happy. I know for me, I didn't see a married couple who was happy and just like in love and just loved being together until I got to college. It was actually a pastor of a church that I went to in college. And, that man and that woman loved each other, and it was visible, and it was like, they didn't try to hide it. They were so in love with one another. And I never saw that until I got to college. And when you think about that kind of, those kinds of visuals, it programs you to think, well, maybe marriage isn't the thing to do. You may see people, you may think, well, I want to be in the business and I want to start a business for myself. And then you think about all the people in your life that started businesses, right? And failed, and not only failed, but they failed spectacularly, right? They lost money, they lost possessions, and that kind of thing programs you. Like you can't take that lightly. You can't just dismiss that, because that is a part of our decision making. Your programming affects your decision making. Okay? And if you never see those positive experiences, when it comes time for you to make that decision, when you become the adult, it's very easy to say, well, I don't know if I want to do that. Or what usually happens, it happens on a subconscious level, we sabotage ourselves, right? You may end up meeting someone who's very, very good for you, but end up sabotaging it because of the programming that you had from a child, right? And I'm not making excuses for some of the behavior that people express, but I think it gives clarity as to why certain people do certain things. How many people do you know truly love their job? Probably not many, right? Most people tolerate their job. So that programs you to say, well, I don't like my job either. And you start looking for negative aspects of your job, which every job has. But if you're not careful, you can sabotage yourself in a job that's actually pretty good. A job that has a lot of positive aspects, a job that's actually doing a lot of good things for you and for your family. You can sabotage that situation just with a negative attitude, which comes from negative programming, if I'm making sense. So how do we turn this around? Because we're pretty clear about what the problem is. The problem is that we're programmed to be sick. We're programmed to be broke. We're programmed to be unhappy. We're programmed to basically waste our lives trying to get to something in life, dreaming of a better day instead of enjoying the day that we have, right? How do we switch that around? How do we shift it? We shift it by understanding that you have the power, and not only the power, but the responsibility to program your own mind. You 100% have it. No one can program your mind without your permission. You can program your own mind. And it's important that you do it. Okay? It's important that you do it. And it's important that you start today to do it. Because if you don't program your own mind, other people are going to do it for you. And here's the thing. Most people don't have much planned for you. Most people don't have your best desires at heart. They really don't. Okay? Advertisers, television producers, and, social media, people on social media, they program people for their benefit. Okay? They program people so they can make money and they can build their brand and they can buy homes for themselves and for their families and provide for their families and their employees and whatnot. They don't care about you. Okay? You want to program your own mind so you can begin to bring in the things that matter to you. Okay? Your happiness is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to be happy. It's not your spouse's. It's not your significant others. It's not your children's. It's not your job. It's not anybody else's responsibility but yours. It's your responsibility to provide and create your own happiness. So how do you do that? You're not going to reach the level of happiness that you want in life by letting other people program your mind. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen, okay? Television shows and whatnot, they're not going to program happiness in you at the level that you can program it for yourself. You've got to program happiness for yourself. And the way you do that is you begin to talk to yourself in a way that cultivates happiness, right? You start looking for things that make you happy. Okay, you start looking for the good in life. You start having a positive outlook. And I'm not saying you ignore problems per se, but, what are 3 things that you love about your job? Like for me, because I still work a regular job. What do I like about my job? I like the fact that I can work from home. I like the fact that I don't have to buy work clothes, I got all these work clothes in my closet that I don't use. Because I really don't have to, I don't have to figure out, khakis and, shirts and take stuff to the cleaners and all that. I don't have to figure that stuff out because I work from home, which is pretty cool. I like the fact that I can, have the news on in the background while I work. I like the fact that I can put a beach at just a live cam for a beach. I can put the beach on. So, every now and then I look up from my desk and I see a beach, which is pretty cool. So, those are positive aspects. I work with some really great people. I work with some really nice, courteous people who, are very good at their job. And, there's a lot to like about where I work and everything. So, you can always look for things that are good in life. And when you start doing that, what happens? You shift your awareness to more positive things, okay? You start programming your mind to look for the good. So in the morning, what I would do is I would do a short voice memo and I would say, I look for the good in everything, right? And then throughout the day, I play that over and over again. I look for the good in everything. I look for the positive aspect in everything. I look for the opportunity in everything. And it's a reminder, and what you're doing is that you're reprogramming your mind to look for the opportunity instead of just looking directly at the problem and just rehearsing the problem. You start rehearsing the opportunity, rehearsing the good thing about it. You start thinking differently. Okay, I program my mind in the morning to be more aware of the business opportunities, right? I'm training my mind to look for business opportunities. I'm training my mind to look for the positive aspects of my business. When you start doing that, when you start programming your mind for happiness, programming your mind to be more business oriented, when you start programming your mind to be a better spouse and a better, significant other, and look for the positive parts of your relationship. What is it that you like about relationship? What is it that you like about the person that you're with? Okay? What is it that you like about the relationship that the two of you have? When you start looking at those things, right, and start building on it, okay, you're going to have a better relationship. And, even if you get to a place where maybe you two decide to go in a different direction, you can remain friends. It doesn't have to end in like a heartbreak. Sometimes people outgrow each other. Sometimes people are moving into a different season that doesn't involve you. And, whatever the case may be, you don't have to be distraught and unhappy and depressed and all that. You don't have to be that way. Okay? Those are programming. That's how we're programmed. Like, we're programmed to be sick and be depressed because people are selling us medications and selling us food. You've heard things like comfort food. They're selling us all these different things to take our pain away, but those things don't really take your pain away. They just numb you to the pain, but the pain's still there, right? The pain comes from your mind, and it comes from the way that we're programmed. And there's so much more to really get into. There's so much more to really dive into. So I'm going to cut it off here. But if you want to learn more, you can go to guidedexpressions.com. And I have mental programming audios that you can partake in. Some are free, some are paid, but I think they all add great value to whatever it is that you're doing. And I hope that you really look into it, because I think that it's something that we all need. I think it's something that we all have a need for. And I want to encourage you to really, really evaluate who's programming your mind, how you got here, and more importantly, start programming your own mind. Start telling your mind what to think, how to think, and you will begin to start shifting your life in a different way. So my name is Martin Williams. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to podcasts, and I will talk to you soon.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Guided Expressions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify to get all the latest content from Guided Expressions. No one builds a house without a blueprint, so why are you trying to build your dream life without one? That's how the Blueprint course was created. The Blueprint course is for people who know they were meant for more. Created by Martin Williams, the Blueprint is a streamlined way to help you create the life you've always wanted. Get instant access now by clicking the link in the description box or going to guidedexpressions.com/blueprint.